So today was the 61st day of class, and I do apologize for the state of my voice. I'm just coming home from coaching wrestling, and I was probably screaming and hollering more than I should have. You know, it's the proverbial, when you play, you pay, and I am paying, so I think it's hot tea tonight. But good news is it's a fairly straightforward class today, and I'm going to click on Unit 2 of my class page, and then I'm going to scroll down to the 61st day, and you can see there are 3 items here. Now, I'm not going to show you the video clip. You can do that on your own. But I have these previously on questions and these inventions. And I've taken the liberty of getting them ready so you don't wait for me to wait them to appear on my computer. And we learned, I hope, about these things in the last class. And these are Chinese ideas that might be somewhat foreign to you, but I think in the West we have, parallels, or we have similar ways of thinking. I'll try to explain this. So idea number 1 is this veneration of ancestors. It is not a literal worship of ancestors. So for instance, if you go to church, that is actual worship in a different way. Veneration would be knowing your family's history, knowing the positive traits of those people, and being able to think about them and make them a part of you. So even though they're biologically dead, they're in your heart, they're in your mind, they're in your actions, and that is veneration of ancestors. And that is something that has been in China for a really, really long time. Well, China's 5,000 years old, so a lot of it's very, very old. Now, Confucianism is a philosophy where there are 5 big relationships, and it creates significant order. You might not like it, but it works. It's very functional, where you have the superior and you have the inferior. Younger brother listens to older brother. And eventually you try to reach this state, which in English is the superior man. And their philosophy is everybody obtains this level of superior man, things get good across the board. So Confucianism provides order. It provided and provides in present. Now, legalism is a philosophy that is not particularly nice, but it's order on steroids. It is severe order. And there's a time and a place for that. In times of crisis, in times of emergency, you need to take this philosophy of obtaining order by any means necessary, to simplify it. Number 4, Moism is essentially cooperation. Even if we were to live 10 lifetimes, we couldn't learn everything we need to learn in this world. So when we rely on each other and utilize each other's skills, that's cooperation, and there's a time and a place for that. Taoism is accepting the nature of things, accepting the way things are, and being hands-off, in action. And there's a time and a place for that. The final Chinese concept I wanted you to know is Wu Wei, which is synonymous with Taoism in a sense, where Wu Wei is essentially you go with the flow. You go based on the evidence you see, go with that. So let me kind of break this down in an example you might know. Veneration of ancestors. I'm going to give the Western version. My grandmother meant everything to me, and when I think of her, even though she's passed away, and I say, what would she say? What would she do right now? I'm honoring her. There's a picture of her in my office, and I think about her. So she's still with me, even though she's biologically dead. That's a veneration of ancestors. Confucianism. I start class every day with a certain procedure. That is by design to hopefully bring some order about. Now, in severe situations, for example, a fist fight breaks out, I have a very legalistic philosophy where I need to, get order to get things together now and abruptly, and maybe not particularly nicely, but you get it together. Moism I do every day. I help a colleague out, a colleague helps me out, a student helps me with something, I help a student out. We rely on each other, cooperation. Taoism, if there is a personal issue that has none of my concern, I should probably just stay out of it. In fact, an expression I hear is, such and such was in my business. And I don't blame you for saying that, because if somebody's intruding where you don't want them to intrude, this is the opposite of Taoism. And Wu Wei goes with the flow. So if I'm teaching a lesson and I have 20 minutes slated to do an activity and you absolutely dread it, you hate it, it's not working out, I should probably cut it off early and say, let's do something else. If you're crazy into it, we really love this, let's keep it going. Maybe I should make it longer. And we also talked about the Han, the Tang, and the Ming, the big 3 Chinese dynasties. And with the Han, we spoke of the Silk Road and the money generated in a merit-based system. And really the foundation for China as we know it was established in the Han. The Tang, the invention of gunpowder, the Tang legal code, which became this foundation of Eastern law, and the innovations and the inventions we talked of, and Ming, the expansion of China on a huge, huge scale, completing the Great Wall and the voyages of Zheng He. So that was our previously on. And then we looked at Chinese inventions. And I gave you a similar list with Rome, and there's only 14 items. This has 34. And I gave the analogy, if there was a NFL running back who had a 5-year career versus a 15-year career, who most likely would have more stats, more yardage? Obviously, it's the 15-year player. And China has been around 5 times longer than Rome, so obviously they have the time to do this. And I asked you to put it into categories, and I asked you to think of the top 6 personally that affect the world today. And you can see battens and sails and cloth, blast furnace, cast iron, silk, chopsticks. You know, people are giving me a hard time with chopsticks, but think about it. If you are keeping your hands out of your food, especially before they knew about germs, instead of putting your hands in your mouth all the time, you know, whether it be a fork or chopsticks, you're probably going to have better health. Amphetamines, repeating crossbow, escapement mechanism for clocks, exploding cannonball, fire arrow, gunpowder, firearm, horse collar, hull compartments or bulkheads, Indian ink, the kite, landmines, lottery, naval mines, noodles. Here's historical bias, by the way. When you have an Italian guy get a hold of that, Chinese invented them, Italians perfected them. I still stand by that. And I totally acknowledge my ridiculous bias. Paper, the pendulum, printing, rockets, the rudder, sailing carriage, seismometer. All right. Self-pointing chariot, sluice gates, toilet paper, traditional Chinese medicine, the trebuchet, the trip hammer, and the winnowing machine. And I had you break it into categories, and classes came up with manufacturing, such as this. They came up with household items like toilet paper. They came up with transportation, particularly naval transportation, with the sailing carriage and the rudder. Another common one was military, very militaristic sort of thing. So these are a lot of inventions, but I want to focus on what are known as the 4 great inventions of ancient China. And these here are the compass, printing, paper, and gunpowder. And these are game changers, obviously. The compass for navigating, from Dr. Seuss when you were in nursery school to the assignment I gave you today, is printing and paper. And gunpowder, we obviously can figure out how that was a game changer. Now, for the other 2, it was a mixed bag, and people had some really good explanations. Some I was surprised about in terms of why they were so important and your rationale behind them. But that was the thinking. So hopefully by now you understand the philosophies of China that were the secret to its longevity, and that you saw what they contributed to the world, the body of knowledge, the collective learning, and what the 4 great inventions of China were. So thank you for watching.